Going on at the White House in the middle of that barbecue. Certainly Israel didn't seem to be top of mind in spite of all the events this weekend, Peter.
And the thing about this barbecue, Sean, nobody in U.S. intel saw this attack, the Hamas attack on Israel, coming. So they couldn't have planned the barbecue to try to bury it in that news cycle. But they did plan it because they knew in advance that they wanted to get this interview with the special counsel done. They told me earlier today when I asked, how long was President Biden at this barbecue? The line was, this date was chosen because there were White House activities that would not require their work because it was for the residents' staff. I was also told, though, President Biden has been consistently engaged in supporting Israel. And while it has certainly taken up a lot of his time lately, it was not taking up all of his time because this voluntary interview with the special counsel specifically looking into his classified documents, the ones that were found at his offices in Washington, D.C., at his house in Wilmington, in the garage and in the study, he was talking to that special counsel, for parts of 2 days. And it was so important for them to get that done, apparently, that they were ready to take all of the criticism for having a barbecue while that was going on, and also for calling this early lid, which meant that he wasn't going to be on camera. But we know that he was meeting with the national security advisors in the White House residence today. That is something that would usually happen in the Oval Office or in the Situation Room, but it was a federal holiday. I was on campus for a good chunk of today. It had the feel of a federal holiday. I went over to the doors to the left of the White House podium in the press room, and the doors were locked. They just had a skeleton crew because people plan in advance to take off. The thing, though, that we are seeing is, Joe Biden, the president, can see the same images that we all see. I know he doesn't watch a lot of TV, but he watches some. We've talked about this. And he has access to all of these horrifying images, but the team is scheduling these remarks a little bit slower than the pace of the news cycle in 2023. It's not a team that is, this is not a situation where they're trying to time remarks so that they make sure that it gets into the newspaper the next morning. The world waits for the U.S. president, and they will keep waiting until tomorrow. But then the White House is telling us they are just going to get along with their agenda as planned. On Wednesday, it's going to be remarks about protecting consumers from hidden junk fees. And then Friday, he's going to go to Philadelphia to talk Bidenomics, specifically an emphasis on good union jobs and combating climate change. His team is saying at this moment, there is no tangible evidence of Iran's involvement. And so in terms of whether or not this is going to lead to a broader conflict immediately, it seems like they are holding out for the possibility. Yeah, please do.
Hamas is saying that Iran assisted and helped and plotted and planned and schemed with them. What part of what they're telling us do they not believe?
Yeah, and the Wall Street Journal, in this very well-reported story, has 4 sources where they basically went all around the Middle East calling on the phone and said, yeah, of course we heard that Iran was involved with this. It was months and training and coordinating and planning. But they just haven't seen a smoking gun, according to the White House. And, President Biden is a very deliberative guy. He also, something that we saw 2 years ago, he does not want to be a wartime president. The Afghanistan pullout was so painful for this entire country and for so many people in Afghanistan, but he decided that it was worth it to get the United States out of an extended conflict. The last thing that he wants to do is get the United States involved in any way. And really, look at how he's approached Ukraine. He has said, basically, there is no circumstance where there are going to be Americans in Ukraine fighting Russians. It seems like, at the moment, he is trying to avoid a new armed conflict anywhere in the world at all costs.
Yeah, well, he does know that we believe that Americans are being held hostage. Has somebody informed him that Americans have been killed as part of this, 1,000, 1,100 people slaughtered? Is there going to be any effort to rescue the hostages? Is there going to be, what support will we offer Israel?
So I know
by the way,
Robert O'Brien,
last
the former
question.
national security advisor, was out. Yeah.
And I want to know, what about the $6 billion? Are you going to put a freeze on it and send it back to South Korea? Because that's where it belongs.
So to go in order there, he did put out a statement today where he expressed condolences for the up to 11 Americans who have been killed. He said that his team is talking to their Israeli counterparts, and they are deploying to Israel, it sounds like, to try to help them figure out how to rescue those hostages, but they're not telling us anything else about exactly how. I know Robert O'Brien says send in the FBI hostage rescue team. It doesn't sound like that's happening at the moment, but we don't have specifics. The $6 billion, they're very clear. That $6 billion is still in an account, and none of it has been spent. But it's just very specific. We know that all of the Republican criticism is money is fungible. It freed up $6 billion for something else. They say that that argument is moot because that specific $6 billion that they unfroze did not directly pay for this attack. And so it's something that will come out over the course of time, along
as
with
everybody's been saying, it is fungible.
The vaunted intelligence operation missed all of this, but they are very clear. They think it's an unfair criticism because that they can see the $6 billion that they unfroze, and they say not a penny of it can be spent on anything other than medicine and food.
Not according to the president of Iran, who contradicts. Not according to the president of Iran, who said they'll spend it any way they want. Anyway, Peter Doocy, thank you for staying up late tonight. We appreciate your reporting as always. And thank you. Now we're joined by former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. He's calling right now for bold action from America in response to the Hamas terror attacks in Israel. That would include a full-scale effort to rescue American hostages, complete support for our ally Israel, new measures to confront Iran, and what we've been calling on this show this new axis of evil, and a commitment to secure our open borders and condemnation of all the anti-Semitism within the U.S. Congressman, I got to ask you, how do we rescue these Americans held hostage? What price will be paid for the killing of Americans here and the killing of the Israelis here? What will we do to provide support for our best ally in the region? And what confrontation are they willing to engage in terms of Iran? Because it seems all they want to do is give them billions of dollars.
You're 100% right. The first thing you have to do is go back to what we had in the last administration. We no longer pay for Americans for the ransom to bring them home. We simply tell them, if they harm them, we will kill you. We should make sure there are 11 Americans dead now, and he's having a barbecue. We've got hostages sitting there. But the other thing we need to do, yes, we should freeze that $6 billion. But the part that you don't quite understand is the $60 billion he's allowed. When Biden came into office, Iran was only producing 400,000 barrels of oil today. Now they're producing 3 million. There are sanctions against that, but he does not enforce it. Enforce those. You know what the foreign currency reserves are for Iran? When Biden took office, it was only 4 billion. It's now up to 70. He's made Iran wealthy. He's made them more secure and able to fund more terrorism. For them to look at anybody in the face to say that Iran was not involved in this, that's like saying our border is secure. Nobody believes them. We should make sure and pass right now, make sure they have enough missiles for the Iron Dome, because what's happening here is they're trying to overwhelm. I've been to these locations many times. I've been to those kibbutz that I see them massacring these innocent civilians. Those first missiles were probably a lot of dumb rockets, but what they want to do is wear out the Iron Dome and then send the precision guided ones. We should make sure that we're going to provide any ammunition. We store it there in Israel, provide it to them now. And everybody has to say one complete thing. This isn't about weakening Hamas. This is about destroying Hamas. And we will stand shoulder to shoulder, and anybody else that gets into this conflict, we will make sure you fail too. You've got to be clear, and we've got to bring everybody else around the world combined with us. They were attacked. As you say, 35,000. What would we do? What would we expect from our friends to do with us?
Let me ask you, just up to last week, you were the Speaker of the House. I know the issue has come up whether or not there are still members that would like you to take that position back. I know there's a contest. You have stated candidates, Steve Scalise and Jim Jordan. How how important is it for the Republican conference to get this decision made quickly?
It's very important, but we got to get it right. You cannot have 96% of your conference one place and 8 people partner with the Democrats and Nancy Pelosi to dictate who our speaker is. Think for one moment, Sean, what if we followed Gates' advice and shut the government down, and the government would be shut down right now? Or our 30,000 troops in the Middle East wondering if they're going to get paid? Or they're sitting on that strike team going with the aircraft carrier, wondering if their family's going to make their rent while we're telling them, no, they can't be paid. You know what? If I have to lose the speakership to make sure our troops get paid, especially in a time like this, then I'm going to take that fight because I'm always going to stand with Americans first. But another thing that really concerns me in here, the anti-Semitism that continues to grow. Remember what Omar said about 9/11? Some people did something that day. I wonder if she says that now, or what Tlaib is doing right now. But why is Biden and Hakeem Jeffries allowing them to speak for the Democratic Party? When they asked Hakeem Jeffries' spokesperson about it, you know what they said? No comment. That's not leadership. Not right now, while we have this whole new axis of evil from Iran, Russia, and China. This looks a lot like the 1930s, and I don't want to be on the wrong side of history. If the president wants to put a lid on it, I'm going to speak out and lay out a 5-point plan, what we should do to make sure the world is safe, and what we should do to make sure America's stronger and the world is a safer place to live.
Kevin McCarthy, will Republicans have a speaker by week's end?
I believe we will. The 2 gentlemen running, I have the capability of putting it together, and I look forward to having that debate tomorrow night.
All right, Kevin McCarthy, thank you tonight for being with us. Coming up next, far-left lawmakers have sunk to new lows in the wake of the terrorist attack in Israel.